Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, State Senator Dallas Harris is here from District 11. She's here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Las Vegas here at the Ahern Hotel, and we are delighted to welcome back to the program State Senator Dallas Harris. She is from District 11, and it's a pleasure to have you back on the program.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Lots of things going on. Let's start out with the top of the news. Senator Reid, the airport is being renamed for him. When was the first time you met or spoke to Senator Reid?
Well, actually, I had the opportunity to intern for Senator Reid in the summer of 2009. In between my undergraduate studies and graduate school, I was able to go up to the Hill. And I think one of the greatest honors of my life was actually being able to carry his briefcase for him from the Capitol to his office. So my admiration for him has gone deep, especially as a lifelong Nevadan and all the things that he's done for this state. And I'm happy to see the airport named after him finally.
Was there anything in particular that you got to observe, because that was a very unique position in D.C. That struck you?
Sure, there's a couple of things. I actually was able to sit in the Senate chamber when Al Franken was sworn in as the 50th senator then, putting Democrats in the majority. And I also was able to take a look at one of Sonia Sotomayor's confirmation hearings live and in person. And if you've read any of her decisions lately, you'll know why that's a big deal.
Yes, to say the least. It's also interesting to me that a lot of people don't realize that because he's got such a straight face, that Senator Reid has a wicked sense of humor.
That's right. Senator Reid and Bob Dole, I'm told, also has a very wicked sense of humor. I think there's something about being a statesman that allows you to maybe have a stone cold face, but also make people laugh.
Yes. Yeah, it was always interesting way back when Senator Reid would come to Reno and talk to the Rotary Club, and he would be popping off these one-liners. And all these business guys were sitting there not realizing he was kidding, and he was like, well, what's this guy saying? All right, so let's get to some newsworthy topics. Obviously, the news broke yesterday, Super Bowl coming to Las Vegas. Your thoughts?
Actually, I was talking to my wife about this just yesterday. I'm born and raised here in Nevada, and I had almost kind of resigned myself to the idea that if I ever wanted to go to a Super Bowl, it was going to have to be somewhere else. So the idea that we're going to have the Super Bowl in Las Vegas is really exciting, especially for us natives. And I can't wait to go. This is probably the cheapest it'll ever be for me. So I think I might jump on the opportunity and attend. Las Vegas has shown itself to be not only the entertainment capital of the world, and now the sports entertainment capital of the world as well. So we're going to have a good time.
Do you think the A's are coming?
I don't have the inside track on that, but I sure hope so. Major League Baseball is one of the missing pieces, and as I mentioned, we're becoming the sports entertainment capital of the world. So baseball teams, bring it all on.
With the results that we've seen so far from Allegiant Stadium, would you be in support of any kind of assistance from the state or from tourism to help fund a stadium for them?
Well, I think I'd have to look at any specific proposal. Of course, there's costs and benefits that can be analyzed. I think traditionally, stadiums have not always worked out in the favor of cities, so we'd have to take a really hard look at what was on the line. But I'm not necessarily opposed to offering incentives where we can bring jobs for Nevadans and provide a good time.
It seems, and I'm not a numbers guy, but it seems that Allegiant is performing very well on so many different levels.
And it's beautiful. Have you been inside the stadium yet?
I've not been inside, but it's like Darth Vader's helmet here. It's a pretty amazing thing to drive by day or night.
Yeah, I imagine it smells a little bit better in there, though.
Okay, well, I hadn't thought about it like that. Another big story in the news is that Mirage is being sold to Hard Rock, and they're going to build a hotel tower with a giant guitar at the front of it. Your thoughts on this?
What a throwback. I cannot wait. I think our skyline's been missing that guitar for quite some time, and it'll be nice to see it back in Las Vegas.
The third Native American tribe to put a property into Southern Nevada.
Wow, I actually didn't realize that. And I mean, that's
so
exciting.
You got the Palms.
The Palms, that's right.
Virgin Hotel and now Mirage.
That's exciting. I mean, it's great to see some diversification in the ownership of these hotels. There's opportunities for everybody, and we know that a lot of the land that we have here in Nevada, especially where our universities are, were land that was taken from native tribes, and so I'm really excited to see them using this land for opportunity for their people.
All right, let's move on to another big topic, which is all this infrastructure money that's coming to the state. Where would you like to see this being spent?
Everywhere.
Okay.
I think, frankly, it's important that we don't just focus on urban areas, that there are rural areas who also need to see this development, specifically with broadband. If we don't get that out to the rural areas, we're selling those folks short. It's a utility, in my opinion, at this point. If the pandemic didn't prove anything, it's that everybody needs it. And so I want to make sure that we are not just looking at the, urban divide, right, within our urban cities, but also the urban-rural divide, and making sure that we're getting that infrastructure dollars out equally across the state.
And you worked for the PUC as an attorney at one point, correct?
I did.
And so NV Energy's GreenLink project, part of that will contain broadband to allow people to be able to hook in as they hook in to be able to distribute power and gas, et cetera, throughout the state.
Absolutely essential.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because the development is obvious in Reno Sparks, the development is obvious in Las Vegas, but we are starting to see huge development in rural areas of northern Nevada, especially between mining and between distribution and warehousing, in industrial parks. I mean, it's really phenomenal.
I agree. It's important that when we think of economic development and bringing prosperity to the state, that we don't look at it just in our two urban cores of Las Vegas and Washoe, as you mentioned. Nevada is a pretty diverse state, and there's lots of economies and lots of industries, and we want to see them all foster and grow.
It was interesting, the mayor of West Wendover, Daniel Corona, has said that at times he's had to come to the legislature and explain to people where West Wendover is because they don't know. Is there any concern in your mind, as you obviously are a supporter of rural Nevada, that as the power continues to move to southern Nevada, that the legislature deals even with places like Washoe County, Reno Sparks, 500,000 people in that region, as an Elko or an Ely, where it just doesn't get the attention that it was getting before?
Well, I'll say this. I think that there are a lot of strong champions in Nevada representing those areas. Pete Goycochea is a very strong advocate for the rural areas in the legislature. You mentioned Mayor Corona in West Wendover. He's a force as well to be reckoned with. And so fortunately, I think the folks who have their representation in the legislature and other areas are not going to allow those of us who are from the South to forget their needs.
Do you get people coming to you and saying, hey, let's take you on a tour of rural Nevada, take you out and show you what's going on out there?
Absolutely, absolutely. I haven't had the opportunity to take anyone up on that, but I've been on mining tours, as well as the Nevada Association of Counties offers a tour to legislators to go around and take a look at some of the other counties that they may not be from, and so I'm looking forward to joining them at some point.
I interviewed Doug Cannon from MV Energy on the program, and we were talking about renewables and how fast you move towards renewables, because last year we saw in California they had power shortages, that moved over to Nevada, and so do you think we're moving too quickly towards renewables, or is the 2050 deadline more realistic than the ones that are closer?
Well, I think there are a couple of things happening, right? Market forces are at work here. Renewable energy is becoming cheaper and easier to manage. Technology is also advancing, and so some of the problems we worried about with renewable energy is, well, what do you do when the sun's not shining? And so as battery technology evolves and renewable energy gets cheaper, the incentive to move that way is simply there. And so you almost don't need some of the government requirements that we've put in place. They're aspirational. I know we're going to make them, and it's from the top of the state that kind of suggests what our priorities are. But the move is really happening for a lot of different reasons, and I think it's definitely not happening too quickly. The planet is warming a lot faster than we'd like to, and I think we all need to dig in and put all hands on deck on this issue. So it's not that we're moving too fast. I think we're trying to catch up and find cleaner ways to electrify our lives.
And no argument on the idea that we want to get to a cleaner energy situation. But for example, during the session, there was this move towards getting rid of natural gas and going all electric, and developers and restaurants as well as homeowners were all somewhat apoplectic about that because the cost that would be involved. So do you have concerns about that?
I definitely have concerns. I mean, that's a real practical barrier to trying to electrify all homes, right? Is the cost, and we all know your electricity bill is generally substantially higher than your gas bill. That's a reality for a lot of people, and if we can't get over that hurdle, we can't just force everyone, right? So I think we have to be innovative about how we address that very real issue.
All right, let's take a break. More with Dallas Harris when we come back.
Calamity. It lurks around every corner. Or not. That's why UMC Quick Care is around every corner, with locations around the valley. UMC Quick Care. For all your small calamities.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
The Do It Right guys at Nevada Heating have one mission. Your air conditioner breaks down today. We fix it today. Why sweat for days while your air is down? when Nevada Heating can get the job done today, and you can get cool again. For nearly 50 years, locally owned Nevada Heating has been getting the job done right. Call today at 323-5585 or see us online at nevadaheating.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Calamity. It lurks around every corner. Or not. That's why UMC Quick Care is around every corner, with locations around the valley. UMC Quick Care, for all your small calamities.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with State Senator Dallas Harris of District 11. During session, you had interest in a bill on autism. And I was kind of curious as to where your interest in autism came from, because there was a lot of interest in autism going back a few years. I know Ralph Tadre with Sunbelt had really promoted autism across the state in terms of the needs. And then it kind of seemed to go into the background. Where did your interest come from?
Well, let me just be honest with you. It's really about the advocates that we have in the legislature who've been fighting around this issue for quite some time, like Assemblywoman Teresa Benitez Thompson and Senator James Orenshaw. You know, when you hear them get up and present the bill and put forward the clear need, right, it tugs at not just your mind, but also at your heart. And so it's an issue that I think we all have to care about. And it's really a good example of one of the areas where we really need to push some more funding, because it's costing us more on the back end to not properly invest in that type of health care and those services.
Well, one of the things that's always concerned me, because I've been an advocate for help for these families as well, is that, you know, once the parents pass on, those kids have nothing. And so it's going to fall to the state at some point to take care of them. So where do you think we're heading with that?
You know, that's a good question. I think our how we look at health care and how we deliver services statewide really needs to be looked at, especially the level of funding that we're giving those services. Because you're right, you know, if we can get a child with autism some behavioral therapy early on, they're going to need less help from the state later on. There's a more likely chance that they'll be able to be self-sufficient, and so we're really going to have to take a hard look at where we're investing our dollars and how much we're giving to these issues so that the state doesn't find itself in a crisis in the future.
And sadly, I think that we're going to be heading towards a crisis no matter what. Another issue that you got involved in, or at least it seemed on par with, was death with dignity. You're a supporter of this.
I am.
Okay, you know, I've been working on this through the program for several sessions now, and I don't think people really understand what this is and why it's important and why we should pass a law similar to Oregon's in Nevada. Can you help explain this, clarify it?
Sure. Well, I think it's pretty simple at this point. We've seen other states put this into place, and we know how we can make it work. This is not a bill, for those who are unfamiliar, where you can just decide to off yourself. Really, we're talking about a deadly diagnosis with 2 doctors with time in between, and then of course a personal choice between you and those doctors. Consult your religious leaders if you feel necessary. This is about a human right, and the government essentially getting out of the way. Again, with these safeguards to ensure that you are at the end of your life, and the only question is, what will that look like? I think that people should have as much control over that as humanly possible, and that's the mini conservative in me, right? We want freedom and liberty to the point as possible, and the government should only step in when it harms the collective or necessary. And I just don't see, with the constraints we've put in place in the most recent legislation, why we should not allow people to take control of the end of their life.
Do you see a change in the next session where this could perhaps come to fruition?
I sure hope so. I mean, I think the districts have shifted, so we'll see what the election looks like, and I might have a better sense of its chances then. But I really hope that this is something that we can at least consider doing again.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be back with Dallas Harris after this timeout.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
I'm Jeff Gehrman, an investigative reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm your guide for Season 2 of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas.
You're in with every gangster and hoodlum in the United States. I don't go for that, Mr. Kennedy. I don't go for that kind of action.
I was on television accused of fronting for the mob.
Subscribe to Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, Season 2, today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with State Senator Dallas Harris of District 11. So the poll numbers for the Biden administration obviously are not great. They're even worse for the vice president. What are your concerns for Nevada? Do you think that there's potential for us to see 2014 again?
I hope not. You know, the worry is always there. No matter what the poll numbers are, you're always worried about something like that, especially in a year after a presidential election. We know what the trends are, and so there's going to be a battle, but I think we're all clear-headed about what's in front of us. And to your question about whether I worry about Nevada, the answer is absolutely not. I think Nevadans are in good hands, right, regardless of what the polls are saying. I know that this administration is bringing infrastructure dollars to the state, is trying to bring renewed tax health care credits child health care credits for children, right? So I know that Nevadans will be in good shape underneath the Biden administration. Okay, but I mean, you know, in what we saw in 2014 was Democrats stayed home. They were not comfortable with the administration and the policies, and they just stayed home. What are the Democrats going to do now that the Reid machine, you know, things within the Democratic Party itself, I mean, have changed so much. You've got somebody running the state Democratic Party
that a lot of Democrats are not comfortable with. They formed their own group up in northern Nevada. And what does that mean for the party?
Well, I think we'll see.
Well, yeah, we will see, but I mean, what do you think?
I think the good news is, regardless of how many groups are out there, everyone's on board with getting Democrats elected in the state, and that's going to be the focus. It's really important that we bring people up and down, all the way down the bottom of the ticket, and there's going to be plenty of Democrats in Nevada fighting for that.
All right, but do you have concerns that the split we're seeing reflected both nationally and here in Nevada is going to affect this election cycle where everybody is not on board? I mean, basically the people that are running the state party are the Bernie Democrats, and the more moderate Democrats are in opposition to them. And there doesn't seem to be any reconciliation on the horizon.
Well, I think when it's a Democrat against a Republican, you're going to see a lot of reconciliation on the Democratic side.
This may be words to live by. Dallas Harris, thank you so much for doing this. I always appreciate your time, and it's great to see you.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's Development Company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's Development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
We'll see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you next time.